All right. It looks like we're live. Hey, everybody.
Yay!
Yay.
Happy Friday. What's going on
Friday.
YouTube?
What's up, YouTube? How's everybody
Friday
doing
happy
tonight?
dance.
Yeah.
Friday happy dance.
It's we made it. It's Friday. It's
We
been a
did.
week. It's been an interesting week. Not even just in terms of it's been a crazy week for Nintendo news, of course, but
Oh
it's
yeah.
also been a crazy week. Like, you had another hurricane blow through.
Yeah.
I don't know if we're getting like a little bit of that, but we have some pretty inclement weather tonight, so I'm hoping that nothing happens. Knock on something.
Don't say anything.
Yeah. Don't jinx it. Knock on something, man. But if there's anybody here that is new who has not joined us for one of these before, we do our so we're all in a Nintendo podcast. It's a weekly Nintendo variety show where we have a bunch of different segments of the show each week. The podcast itself posts on Saturdays, but every Friday night, Eric and I record the first segments of our show live. So that includes like what we've been up to, what we've been playing, and we break down the week of Nintendo news, and we sort of package it as this like live stream thing. And that is kind of the first segments of the podcast, which will also include a weekly top 5, a weekly indie showcase, and a kind of revolving fourth segment that can be anything really. This week it's a Bayonetta 3 review. So this is but a taste of a larger podcast that goes live tomorrow.
Yeah. Just a taste. This is your free demo. Well, technically the podcast is free too, so
the free demo of the free podcast. That's right.
Exactly.
But we so anyway,
chapter 1 is free, but chapters 3, 2, 3, 4 also free.
The first hit is free, and the rest of it is also free. It's a great business model. It's worked out well for us.
Exactly. Yeah.
So
look at all the money just flowing through our fingers.
We're just covered. Yeah, we're sitting on our throne of money. So we have a lot of fun doing it. Hey, Sam. Sam's here, third strongest mole in the chat. Good to see you, my friend. And yeah, we have a lot of fun doing it, but this is but a taste. And links are always in the video description to check out the podcast. So we really appreciate that. And hey, before we get started, maybe like the stream and subscribe to us here on YouTube. There's video content going up all the time on the YouTube channel. So maybe that helps us out a lot if you give that stream a like. But dude, if you're ready to go, we can do this thing.
Yeah, well, I mean, we do these news roundups. We do the first part of the podcast every Friday night, live at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. But just yesterday, Seth put up a new video where we checked out the brand new Nintendo Switch game, Rogue Legacy 2. So definitely check that out as well, where Seth is apparently bad at the game.
Bad at it. I'm not good at it. Talk about that here in a second. I'm not good at it.
Yes, we will.
All right, well, let's roll that intro and get into it, guys. We'll see you on the other side. That's right, everybody. We are here and happy to be bringing you another episode of All In, a Nintendo podcast, the weekly Nintendo variety show where no shell is left unturned and no point is left unearned. We are happy to be here live recording the first segments of our show on youtube.com/allinpodcast, as we do every Friday night at 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern. And we sit here on Splatfest Eve. Sam is in the chat, third strongest mole, saying Splatfest is live, repping Team Water, and
nice.
We're definitely gonna have to play a little bit of Splatfest. I'm Team Grass, so I'll be alone on Team Grass.
Fire!
So we're repping between you, Sam, and I. We have the bases covered. So yeah, Splatfest is live, but that's just the tip of the iceberg for the Nintendo stuff going on this week.
I'm 2 for 2. You should probably be on my team. Just saying.
We'll see.
2 for 2.
We'll see how it shakes out, man. We'll see how it shakes out. But yeah, so we got a lot to get into tonight. But before we get to anything, we have to thank the people who make the dream come true, Eric. We have to shout out our lovely patrons over at
Yes.
patreon.com/allendpodcast, where the Golden Banana and Triforce tier patrons are shouted out right here at the beginning of each and every episode of this show. So starting with
Yes.
our Golden Banana tier, the Golden Banana Bunch.
Yes. My goal, my dream is to have people give me $5 a piece each month. That's my
Yeah,
American dream.
there you go. Your American dream on Veterans Day. Happy Veterans Day to
Oh.
Eric, by the way, our resident veteran. So there you go. Everybody, happy Veterans Day to Aaron. To Eric in the chat.
Yeah.
Also to Aaron. Why not? So we appreciate
Yeah.
our veterans. We love our veterans.
Yeah. No F's in the chat for respect. F stands for something else in the military.
That is true, actually. So love and respect to our veterans, but love and respect also to our patrons. Our Golden Banana tier patrons include Dan Caparello of Retro Logic, Rob Yapel, Third Strongest Mole, who again is in the chat repping Team Water.
Hi, Sam.
Shout outs to Sam. Sean O'Baggins, Ashton, Tim A, aka Neoprime33, aka Nintendo Dad number 4, Matt Shy Guy City Murray, Shy Guy, the two fearless members of the Shy Guy Mod Squad, Drew Agnew, the handsome host of the House of Mario podcast, and Phelan Ward, the host of the Damage Counter podcast, the #1 Pokemon TCG podcast in my heart, and the only one that I'm aware of, coincidentally. So
was that
I'm
part
sure
of his patron name, or would you just?
I just threw that in there. I don't know.
I'm looking forward to us getting to the level of having patrons to where their names are just weird little messages that they want to throw in.
That probably will happen eventually. Yeah, I mean Tim's is the closest to that.
Yeah.
But we do appreciate our Golden Banana bunch, but we also need to thank our Triforce tiers. We have to thank Josh Vaughn, the godfather of Tingle Love Tuesday, of course. We need to thank John Cummins, Datfast himself, the host of Retro Logic as well as On Topic Retro, the Globe Trottin' Jet Set and Sparky. We gotta thank Adam Caparello, aka Octorock 1982, returning to the Triforce tier, and of course, the legend himself,
Uncle Randy.
Thank you, Uncle Randy. We love you very much. We love all of you guys that support us on patreon.com/allendpodcast. We the folks
nothing but love.
Nothing but love. The folks who throw a few bones our way for our work. We really
send us more money.
Yeah, it means more to us than we can say. It really does. So thank you all so much for supporting us. And we have a few people who actually supported us in a way that doesn't require throwing bones. They supported us for free by leaving us a couple of 5-star reviews on Spotify.
Yes.
This past week we got 2 new 5-star reviews on Spotify. So on Spotify the reviews are anonymous and you also can't leave words, but they are still very, very appreciated to the people out there listening who left those 5-star reviews. We greatly appreciate that. You guys can leave those on Spotify, on Apple Podcasts, on Podchaser, and on Audible. And if you are able to leave some words, I will shout them out here on the show as well. So thank you guys so much for that.
Yeah, thank you guys a lot for that, because we have reached the point where we do have a couple people attempting to review bomb us. So those are very appreciated.
Yeah, it's really nice to have people, leave kind 5-star reviews to offset a little bit of that. So thank you guys very much for that. But sir, it's been a busy week. What's been going on in your world?
Well, here at the top, far be it from me to start off on a downer, but I feel like if I'm going to talk about this past week in my or our personal lives, there's really only one place to start, and that is here, November 11th, 2022. Just a few hours ago, we lost a true icon, a true legend in the entertainment industry, somebody that both Seth and I basically revere. Yeah. Had we been able to get the tax exempt forms, we probably would have set up the Church of Kevin Conroy. But absolute legend of the business. We actually did, we did a side quest on Batman the Animated Series not too long ago because of the 30th anniversary of the show. And Kevin's just he's a legend beyond words, and so many other legends within voice acting and even entertainment came out and left some beautiful words. Tara Strong and Clancy Brown and Mark Hamill, of course, and the Empire State Building lit up in honor of Kevin Conroy, which was a fantastic gesture.
Yeah.
But it was just a real gut punch today, losing someone of that caliber so suddenly. 66 is way too soon for anybody, but man, that stunk.
Yeah, that was a rough one, man. That was, I'm not somebody who normally when a celebrity passes away,
Yep.
99% of the time I'm kind of like, that's sad. Maybe I was a fan of theirs or whatever, but there are few people whose work like truly truly impacted my life in a deep and permanent way, and Kevin Conroy's on that short list.
Yeah.
Yeah, his performance as Batman means a great deal to me. So yeah, I still can't believe it. It still doesn't feel real. So
Yeah. The voice, the definitive version of arguably the greatest superhero of all time. There's not too many. I mean, when you look at the world of superhero fiction, there's not too many greater accolades that I think you can really give somebody than to say something like that. But it's absolutely true in his case. Kevin Conroy and his Batman truly defined the character for not just our generation, but for multiple generations. There are millions of people out there who, and Seth and I are included in this group, who, when they read Batman comic books, they read it in Kevin Conroy's voice. So ubiquitous and so legendary was his portrayal of the Dark Knight.
nobody did it better. Nobody's ever done it better. So yeah, I'm glad we could stop and talk about that for a second, because that's something that has really been on my mind and on my heart today quite a bit. So
I know it has. But in better news, in lighter news, I had another hurricane this week. So yeah,
in
it
lighter
was
news, there was a hurricane.
yeah. And I sent you a couple of the pictures and video of some of it. Actually did hit us pretty hard over here. I thankfully,
Yeah,
when it comes to me personally, I didn't get anything worse than
it's good.
a big crack in the side of my passenger side windshield of my car. That was the worst thing that happened to me. And if that's the worst thing, I will absolutely take that, especially
Yeah.
considering some of the things that did happen. They had cops out all over the county, directing traffic and trying to keep people off the roads, where there were literally fallen traffic signs and wires all over the road, trees all over the road. So we got hit pretty hard by Nicole this week, But again, thankfully, I didn't see any catastrophic, no loss of life that I noticed. So that's the
Good.
big thing,
Hmm.
obviously. But yeah, a lot of a lot of people who are going to be cleaning up a lot of stuff for a lot of while, unfortunately. But again, first and foremost, I don't think I saw any loss of life. So I will definitely take cleaning up the roads over having to, prepare for something like
Right.
that.
Yeah, for sure.
But in actual lighter news, some of the stuff that I've been up to this past week, obviously, we are doing our massive review of Bayonetta 3 later
Hmm.
on in the podcast. Definitely check out that later on in the podcast. We have a lot to say, go figure. But both Seth and I have been putting a lot of time into this game. It's quite a bit bigger than we thought it would be, but we were dedicated to seeing as much of it as possible to give you guys as comprehensive a review as possible. I spent a lot of time finishing up Bayonetta in that regard, and kind of dove immediately into Sonic Forces, which I have up here on
Frontiers,
the TV
not
behind me.
forces. Come
Forces. What
on,
was I thinking?
come on. You
Wow.
don't
I've
go
been
there. Don't give
okay.
it that.
Okay, so I was thinking about Nintendo Life, because Nintendo Life has
That's
been
true.
getting a lot of flack because, ironically enough, you and I kind of joke about Nintendo Life's reviews because
They're a little more positive.
yeah,
Yeah.
the joke is you basically have to take away an extra point
Right.
to find the real review score, because they do tend to skew very positively and very generous with their scores.
Hmm.
But they gave Sonic Frontiers a 4 out of 10, which, I mean, if that's truly how the reviewer felt, more power to them. But it was just so wildly different from so many of the other. Not saying it was getting 9s or 10s all over the place, but it has been getting considerably better review scores than previous 3D Sonic games for most outlets. And it was just weird that Nintendo Life, of all places, was the one that wound up having the super low score
Right.
for any game in particular. But it was weird because it was offset by Sonic Forces, which they gave a 6 to, and Sonic Frontiers they gave a 4 to. So that was just on my mind a lot today, which is why I accidentally I've got Sonic Frontiers up on the TV behind me, and I
Yeah.
still misremembered it as Sonic Forces for a second. So I apologize. Thank
Well,
you very much, Seth. But
look,
yeah, it's
this is why we don't do review scores. I mean,
exactly.
honestly, it's because of stuff like this. Because like it created this whole thing of like what like should the review like be individual to the reviewer? Which yeah, of course it should.
Yeah.
Dummy, like duh. But like then in addition to that, it's like, well, should it be indicative of the entire site? It's like you can do both actually. The site's review is individual to the reviewer, so it just created this whole thing, and I'm like, you know what the solution is? Just no review scores. That's why we don't do them. So
So almost as if we've been ahead of the curve on that for literal years now.
yeah, that's true.
Another thing that I've been doing is watching the absolute dumpster fire that is Twitter
Oh
right now.
God,
And as a
yeah,
matter of fact, ironically, Nintendo was kind of at the center of it because for those who don't know, if you don't have a Twitter, God bless you, first of all. But if you somehow haven't heard, Elon Musk did in fact buy the social media platform and immediately just started making every possible worst decision he could. Specifically this week, the dumpster fire in question was this idea that instead of the blue check marks being being annotations of actual verified sources, instead of those blue check marks being indicative of you being a verified uh, member within the political, entertainment, scientific community, instead of being verified for your what's the word I'm looking for? Instead of being verified for your authenticity, you
right.
are now verified if you just give Elon Musk $8 a month, or at least you did. They dropped that immediately because go figure, when you take something, when you take a gesture that means something, when you take a gesture that the entire point of it was to reflect authenticity and make it something that you can just purchase for $8 a month, go figure, chaos immediately ensued because an account deeming themselves Nintendo of America and who happened to have given Twitter $8 and got a blue check mark next to their name tweeted out a picture of Mario giving the middle finger,
Yeah,
which immediately caused a massive firestorm of controversy. And they had to come out and it's like, no, Nintendo of America, the official account, did not tweet out a picture of Mario giving an inappropriate gesture. Of course, that didn't happen. And that's just the fact that something like that happened immediately
yeah.
after the blue check mark has them thinking it's like, oh, maybe this terrible idea was actually terrible all along. And now they're having to completely correct course. And it has just been an absolute dumpster fire that has been so entertaining and horrifying to watch at the same time.
A mess. A
It really
total
is.
mess.
It really is. I mean, there's some other stuff that I've been doing. I'm so far behind. If Sam is still here in the chat, I'm sorry. I'm so far behind in my playthrough of Earthbound that we're doing in the Discord with
Yeah.
everything coming out with Bayonetta. With we did a review for Mario plus Rabbids Sparks of Hope just last week. We got our Bayonetta review this week. We've got our Sonic Frontiers review probably next week
I don't know. Soon.
because we've got Pokemon coming next week. I've been having to play all the games that we have to review for the show, and I have not unfortunately been able to put as much time into Earthbound, although I really, really want to go back and play it because of course it's Earthbound, it's legendary, it's rad as heck. And I really want to go back and play it. There's a lot of stuff that I have. I'm looking at just a bunch of games that I've gotten over the past few
Too
weeks
many.
that I really, really want to play. I bought JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, the fighting game, and I really want to put some time into that. I got a puzzle collection from Draknek and Friends that I really want to put some time into. I've got the Atari 50th collection, which just came out today. I've got the Steelbook coming in the mail, hopefully within the next day or so, and I really want to play that. It's just, man, the things I do for you people. The
Twist your
things I
arm to
do for you
play
people.
video games.
Yeah. The only time that I've really been able to put into anything other than games that we are specifically reviewing for the show is I played about half the demo of this admittedly really cool low poly 3D action platformer that our friend Jordan, the Red Panda, turned us on to.
Yeah, Lunistis. It's really good.
Yeah.
I really
I know
enjoyed it.
you, yeah, you've played it a little bit more than I have. I bought it after I played half of the demo, and I haven't been able to play it since. But it is just based on the half demo that I played of it. I bought the game based on just that, if that's any indication of my
Yeah.
experience with the game. But if you like low poly stuff like Tori and like Tori 3D and Tori 2 and games of that ilk, I think you'll really, really like Lunistis. Definitely give it a try. It's got a demo. Like I said, it's got a demo.
Has a free demo, and the full game's only $5, and I really enjoyed it. It'll take you
Yeah.
about 2 hours to beat. If you want 100%, it could probably take you another hour or so because, I mean,
That's not
unless
bad for $5.
for $5, I mean, it's
Yeah.
quite good, and like the quality of it is really high. I honestly think that it probably deserves a full indie showcase at some point, but it is really good. Like for $5, you can't go wrong. I really recommend it.
Yeah. And of course, as much as we love these indie worlds, it's just, I want to play that. 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 Oi. But what about you, bud?
Yeah, same as you. A lot of stuff, not a lot of time to play it. Did again really enjoyed Lunistis. Currently, because finished Bayonetta. Again, we have the review happening on the show this week. And now I am just Sonic, man, just playing Sonic Frontiers. And again, we're gonna be doing a review for that soon. There's something kind of cooking up for next week that could potentially be happening. So Sonic might be the week after, and then of course Pokemon comes out. So I don't know. We have to figure out our review schedule, but we're going to be reviewing Sonic Frontiers very soon.
Yes.
Um, and yeah, I mean, like early impressions of it, I really enjoy it so far. I
I'm
don't
actually
want
kind
to,
of addicted to it.
yeah, like I don't want to say too much before seeing the credits because it's possible that this could be completely derailed. But
Yeah.
so far, I've
Because
put about 8 hours into it, and I'm impressed.
yeah, because specifically for me, I really enjoyed Sonic Generations. That's been
Yeah,
over a decade now since it released. I really like Sonic Generations. I do. But the game has one of the all-time worst final boss fights I've ever played. If you wanted to twist my arm right now, I would probably say it's the worst final boss I've ever played in a video game. And I really hope Sonic Frontiers doesn't do that. I really
yeah.
hope you don't.
The boss fights so far have actually been really cool in
Yeah.
Sonic Frontiers. It's I keep thinking in my head Sonic of the Colossus is like what it is,
Yeah,
basically.
that's not, yeah.
you
A
know?
lot of people immediately made the comparison, like, Sonic Breath of the Wild and stuff like that. And that is kind of fair, to be
Yeah,
honest.
yeah,
But there is some stuff. A lot of the, I didn't get really Shadow of the Colossus. What it reminded me of is a lot of those old 50s and 60s, the classic sci-fi robots and alien designs from stuff like
yeah,
War of the Worlds
yeah,
and things of that nature. That's kind of what this minimalist, very geometric type of design for the enemies. That's very different than a lot of the stuff that Sonic has been
big
going up
time.
against for almost his entire career. So it is, in many ways, it doesn't feel like a Sonic game, but we will have much more to say on
Yeah,
that in our full review.
for sure, for sure. I do think like if there's anybody that was kind of like thinking about it, should I give it a try? I do really wish this game had a demo. Because
Yeah.
like this is the game that probably needed to prove itself more than almost any other game released on the Switch this year. And I will say too, the Switch port is not perfect. Like it does have its drawbacks. There's like pop in like crazy, but it runs actually really solidly. I was actually surprised. I haven't had any frame dips at all for as fast as Sonic is
I
running
have.
around this open world. Have you? You've had
I
some
have,
frame
yeah.
dips.
Yeah.
I haven't had any that I've noticed so far. Um,
Loading
but
times are pretty good. I'll give it that.
yeah, load times are good, but yeah,
And
it's for
the loading screen. Never mind, never mind. We're gonna keep getting off on tangents. So I'm gonna start talking about the game.
yeah, we don't need to cannibalize our upcoming review too much, but I just all of that to say that so far I am impressed with it, and interested in checking it out, I would say maybe watch some videos on it. I'm probably going to try to stream it this weekend. I have some stuff going on this weekend, but I'm going to stream it soon just to give people a look at it and see how it's running on Switch and stuff like that, because I know a lot of people are really curious about it. Hopefully that'll kind of tide you over until our full review. So, but that's basically it, dude. That and Marvel Snap. I'm addicted to Marvel Snap. That's about it.
Dude, quit talking about Marvel. Yeah, everybody here knows how much of a Marvel fanboy I am. We did a specific side. Dude, I don't have time to get addicted to something like that.
No,
I
just
know
play it.
who I am. I know who I am. I know what type of person that I am. If I find something, I'm already getting addicted to Sonic Frontiers. If I find something like that, you may never see me again.
No, it's I will say too, like, it's not even that. Marvel Snap is not predatory at all with microtransactions, to the point
Well,
where
that's good.
like
That's
to the
good.
point where I actually am surprised that, like, I not only do I not want to spend money on anything, but like I kind of almost can't. Like, I can spend the money on the season pass, which I did buy the season pass. That's $10, you know, well worth it, especially if you're playing it as much as I'm playing it.
Yeah.
But other than that, like, the currency and stuff, you get all of that so easily, naturally, that, like, I've never once been tempted to buy anything other than the season pass. So it isn't predatory, and I think that if you were to play it, you wouldn't be sucked into a money pit. A time pit, maybe, but even then, it's so, like, pick up and play. It's, like, brilliantly designed. This is not a mobile game podcast. This game is not on Switch, but Marvel Snap is really, really good. Like, just really well made, legitimately one of my favorite games this year. Like, it's
If they were
really
if they
good.
were smart, they would put it on the Switch, because I mean that's a perfect platform for a game like that. Handheld, touchscreen. Although please don't, because I really don't need it.
And the rounds are so fast that, like, yeah, like the Switch, I mean, like, one of the brilliant things about Marvel Snap is
How much are they paying you right now, Seth?
this is not sponsored by Marvel. I mean, DMs are open, Marvel Snap, if you want
True
to
story.
reach out.
True story. Marvel, call me.
Yeah. Yeah, Eric's like, "Oh, I'm trying not to play this right now, but he'll play it real quick if you slide into his DMs."
Kevin Feige, let me know. I
Yeah,
will do
it's
a 180 on that choice quickly.
real quick. It's really, really good. I'm like genuinely, and I'm not even like the world's biggest Marvel guy, but it's just a really well designed. This game is all you really need to know. One of the lead designers of Hearthstone is the creative director of this game, so that's really all you need to know. It's just, I like it better than Hearthstone, flat out.
Really?
Yeah, I think it's a better than Hearthstone.
I know you hold Hearthstone in a very
Yeah.
high esteem.
Yeah, in terms of game design, I think it's stronger than Hearthstone.
Wow.
Yeah, so there's
La
that.
la 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 la.
Mic drop. Oh man, well,
With fingers and ears, just la 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 la.
yeah, you need to try it, man. You need to give it a shot. But we've got so much to talk about in the news this week, man.
We do.
So let's just rip off this Band-Aid. What do you say we get into it?
Oh, this is such a beautiful Band-Aid to rip off, though. Let's talk about it.
Hey, listen!
All right, well, outside of the aforementioned Twitter dumpster fire going on within the world of Nintendo, far and away the biggest news story within the world of the Big N was this past week's Indie World Direct. 25 minutes of amazing looking indie titles. And Seth, I know that as far as you're concerned, you think this is one of the best indie worlds of all time. I personally don't think that I'm willing to say that. That is not to say I didn't think it was good. Far from it. There were some amazing looking games shown off in this. So let's just jump right into it. I think when it comes to this show, maybe the biggest headline of the show is probably Sports Story, the game that we thought didn't even exist anymore. Not only is it back, but we have a release window. It's coming out next spring. Cannot wait. We did
They said it was December. December is supposed to be Sports Story, and like it's supposed to come out next month. And like we don't have a date for it. It just said December. Like, that was really weird to me. I don't understand.
I guess I'm getting my dates mixed up with one of the other games.
I mean, there's a million games. I don't blame you.
Yeah, there
for
is
it,
a
but
million games.
They just have they just had a vague December date for Sports Story. I don't get it.
Well, I adored Golf Story. We did an indie showcase on Golf Story a while back, and we've been waiting on Golf Story. We've been, waiting with bated breath. Sports Story being talked of in whispers, almost to Silk Song levels of intrigue and mystery at this
Almost.
point.
Yeah.
But yeah, finally, Sports Story is back, and it's releasing very soon. Apparently next month, according to Seth. And he's my blue check mark. He's my verified source.
Look,
so
I thought it
believe
was
him.
weird. I thought it was really, like, I'm happy to see it, but like if it's coming out next month, they're like, of course they have a date in mind. I don't get it. Like, and that's like, and we talked about this, I think it might have been just last week with Day of the Devs, right? That was last week, huh?
I think so.
I don't know.
That sounds right. Last week,
What
the
are
week
days?
before, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, just stupid passage of time.
But something that we said then was it super annoyed me during Day of the Devs how they just wouldn't commit to dates for like anything. The Indie World showcases are always really good about doing this, and we had games with December dates confirmed. But then Sports Story, the one more thing, the biggest headline of the entire thing, is coming out in a month, and we don't have a date. That just seemed very strange to me. I don't know.
I don't know. It could be they could be waiting to see what the release schedule looks like in terms of other things, because it could be fluid for them depending
Maybe.
on what else releases. Because when it comes to the holiday shopping season, when it comes to the holiday release list, it's so easy. It's already easy for indie games especially to get lost in the sauce and get lost in the vast ocean of other Nintendo Switch releases. There's only 40 games that come out every week on the Nintendo Switch, so especially for indie games, it's super easy to get lost in the sauce. So that could be something that they're doing. They could be looking at the release schedule specifically for December and trying to decide when they can get the most bang for their buck.
I'll tell you my theory. I think it's going to get shadow dropped at the Game Awards. That's my theory.
That's true. That's a good point.
I think they'll put out a trailer and they'll just shadow drop it at the Game Awards. I think Indie World knew that it was coming out, but they're like, hey, we have this commitment to the Game Awards. You can have our trailer, but all we can say is December. So
you can, I mean,
theory.
it's definitely a fact.
It's a theory.
It's just a theory. It is a theory. It is a notable enough indie game that is a very plausible outcome, I think.
Me too. Yeah.
So I could definitely see that. The Game Awards, of course, airs every year at the beginning of December. As a matter of fact, this coming Monday should be the list of nominations for the Game Awards.
Mm-hmm.
So very much looking forward to that. But yeah, Sports Story, that's almost a guaranteed indie showcase at some time in the near future. Cannot wait for that game to come out. That's probably going to get a physical as well. I own the physical for Golf Story. This it's going to be so much. It's going to be so much fun. It's going to be so much cool. It's going to be so much rad. Just all the superlatives. It's going to be all of those. Outside of that, outside of Sports Story, I think maybe the biggest headline was kind of buried a little bit in a montage of other games.
That was
weird. Because honestly, I think the biggest headline after Sports Story is the fact that we're officially announced for the Nintendo Switch, Inscription, one of the best games of last year, officially getting released on the Nintendo Switch. Also this December.
Yeah, December 1st for Inscription. And Inscription is like... It really is one, and I played it for the Backtrackers, I think a month ago. I played it on PC. I was kind of waiting and hoping that I was going to get to just play it on Switch, because we knew it had been rated for Switch back in like October, and I was kind of hoping, but we wound up not getting it. We're getting it in December 1st, and this is a special game. This one, I'm going to get it again. Special Reserve's doing a physical. I'm going to get the physical. Yep. Like it's great.
That's how I woke up in the middle of last night, is Seth sending me the link to the special, like, dude, it's getting a physical. Yeah. I'm like, I just woke up, turned over, like, bought. And then put my phone back down.
Yeah, that's one. I mean, that I need to have that in my collection. It's a great game. I'm really looking forward to you playing it. That is going to be one heck of an indie showcase whenever we get around to it.
Yeah. What category does that even go into when we're talking about the golden aces? Puzzle
uh,
simulation, I guess.
yeah, I guess so. That game goes so many different places that like it's hard to talk about because like I genuinely don't want to say too much. Like there's a lot that you could spoil about Inscription. Inscription does not the game that I compare it the most to actually is There Is No Game Wrong Dimension. And
Really?
that's the game that it reminds me the most of. So like come
Yeah.
into Inscription when it comes out December 1st and expect the unexpected. That's what I'll
Yeah.
say.
Yeah. God, there is no game wrong dimension. That is such a fantastic title.
Yeah.
Not a game, a title. Not a game.
Yeah, non-game.
Non-game. Going from Sports Story, going to Inscription, I would say after that, most notable, not necessarily the biggest headline, but probably the most notable. You and I both are super hyped for this new Devolver Digital Drill Dozer spiritual successor. What is it?
Pepper Grinder.
Pepper
Yeah.
Grinder. Yeah, it looks really cool. Looks like a mix basically between Grapple Dog and Drill Dozer.
Yeah, definitely. The drill dozer thing is obvious, just right from
Oh
the
yeah,
outset, because you play as this. I guess she's a pirate. Her name is Pepper. She is shipwrecked on an island. Other pirates have stolen her gems and her gold and whatnot, and she
I
has
hate
to
it when
use
that
her.
happens.
Yeah, you hate it when that happens, right?
Yeah.
And then she has to use her big like drill to get it back, and like the gameplay just looks really fun. And we don't Drill Dozer was a really special game, actually, a Game Freak game, as it turns out, and a very
It's all
special game on the
connected.
GBA. It's all connected, and it's about time that we got some sort of spiritual successor to it. I'm very very interested in this. This was probably my game of the show. This was probably the
Yeah.
one that I'm most excited about coming out of this.
Yeah. I don't know. It was either this or uh for me it's the what was the death Have a Nice Death.
Oh, that looks great. Yeah,
Have a Nice Death, where you actually play as the Grim Reaper and you go through this bureaucracy of it looks like Death Jr. meets Death's Door,
yeah,
essentially.
a lot of death games.
A
Yeah.
lot of death games, a lot of death games, but it looks absolutely rad. The visual style, the very monochromatic styling of the game is very reminiscent of something like Hollow Knight,
Hmm.
but the action looks really fluid. It looks really cool, really stylistic. And I need it, Seth. I know we're done with spooky season. We're officially done with spooky season this year, but I would happily extend spooky season for that game a little while longer. That looks
Yeah.
absolutely awesome.
Coming March 22nd, 2023. So that one has a date. And I mean, yeah, the animation is amazing. Like
Yeah, looks
it
super
looks
good.
gorgeous. So yeah, I'm really excited about that.
Yeah, if you liked Hollow Knight at all, you absolutely need to have. You probably have already bought it if you're a fan of Hollow Knight. But if you haven't checked it out yet, and you are a fan of Hollow Knight, you definitely need to look into this game.
Yeah. I think like the thing with me when it came to this Indie World Showcase was I was genuinely interested in almost everything shown. Like
Yeah,
for almost everything shown, and like it's such a stark difference from, if you remember, last time we had an Indie World Showcase was I think in like April or May, and it was really quite weak. It was like
yeah,
you
yeah.
know?
You and I were not very impressed with it. There was no one more thing. It just there was a lot of it that felt awkward. The presentation and the presenters themselves
Mhm.
just there was just something wholly off about it. But it looks like they got back on track with
That's how it
this
was for me,
because
man.
yeah. Like there's a couple games that don't really vibe with me.
Mhm.
Speaking of games that I know there was one right before I was afraid this was going to be the final game they shut off, but thankfully Sports Story was the one more thing. But this game, A Little to the Left, this little cozy puzzle game, I know specifically you played the Steam demo for it. That's another
Yes.
thing that we have up on the YouTube channel that you ought to check out.
Yeah. Yeah, I
But
played the demo for it. Actually, Locklith, our friend Locklith and my
mhm.
co-host on the Nintendo Drive, she has been playing it on Switch. She bought it because it was shadow dropped during the Indie World, and she really likes it. She was saying that the only complaint she has is playing it with like a controller versus a mouse and keyboard.
I can see that.
Because I can too, considering the type of game it is. It's this puzzle game that's all about organization. You're just like taking things and lining them up a certain way. Hence, the title is kind of in reference to when you're like arranging a picture frame a little to the left, it's not quite centered. That's what the whole game is. And meanwhile, you have this annoying cat who is like reaching the paw in and like messing things up while you're trying to, arrange things and order them. So, but I like it. I don't know if it's something I wasn't like, day one, I'm going to get it. I'm
Yeah.
somebody who really likes organization and stuff like that. So I enjoyed the demo and I do want to play this eventually, but I just don't have time for something like that right now. So
Yeah. I know the feeling. To be honest, the other game like Wobble Dogs or whatever, that didn't leave a strong impression
no,
on me either.
me either. Yeah.
But there's still so many other games that did really look cool. There's one, speaking of shadow drops, there's a game that we will be talking about a little bit later on in the episode that both Seth and I picked up. We played to completion and we are like, this game is so funny and awesome. It needs to be an indie showcase right meow. And we're talking
Yeah.
about Once Upon a Jester. It had a really good showing at the Indie World. We were both like, we need to check this out. It shadow dropped. We both played it, and we will be telling you all about it later on in the podcast.
Easy indie showcase. And y'all know what
Yeah.
that means. We enjoyed it quite a bit. And I honestly haven't been able to stop thinking about it since finishing it. Like I just
Das
keep going.
Beast.
Das Beast?
Das Beast.
Oh, it's really good. It's really good. We'll talk about that later in the podcast.
I know that obviously we're super hyped for it. We did see Coffee Talk Chapter 2, Hibiscus
Yes.
and Butterfly again. So, I mean, that's still a day one for Seth and I. That's still going to be super awesome. Seth and I find reasons to talk about the first title. It's one of the best world building games we've ever seen. It's one of the best narratively driven games that we've seen on the Nintendo Switch. Not very gameplay intensive, but it's a really, really special little title, and we expect more of the same from Chapter 2 Hibiscus and Butterfly, which is to say we expect it to also be a special title. But we did see Coffee Talk Chapter 2 again. Definitely check out the first one on the Nintendo Switch if you haven't already. Just to let you know, Coffee Talk is one of those games where if you try to get the physical online, it's one of those games that's already stupid expensive. It's one of those games.
Yeah. This is going to be a special one. I'm really looking forward to it. It's coming next spring. So even though it's no closer than it was and we didn't get a hard date, it was nice to see it.
Yeah. And how do you pronounce this? Dordog?
I think it's Dordogne. Yeah, I'm not sure.
I think so.
Yeah, Dordogne is this like it's French.
Spanish.
Yeah, it's French, I guess, and I don't know what it means, but it's this very sort of like painterly sort of aesthetic. It really reminded me of Boku no Natsu-Yasumi, the My Summer Vacation games. Like it kind of reminded me of that quite a bit.
Yeah.
Or like the Shin-Chan game that just came out that I talked about. Kind of those Kazayabe games where you're playing as this actually between two timelines, like this woman in her childhood and in her sort of adulthood and her relationship, I guess, to her grandmother. And it looks like you're kind of exploring this like French countryside, very again watercolor painterly look. You're taking pictures, recording things with your like I was gonna say Walkman. I don't really know. I guess just a tape recorder with like a microphone. So
Probably, yeah.
Yeah.
But it looks really cool. Just from the visual aesthetic, just from the art direction of the game, it looks really, really striking. It almost looks like something they thought they were going to turn into an animated feature and swerved halfway through creation and decided just to make it a game instead. It very much has a cinematic quality to it and just this beauty. That's really the best way to put it. Just this beauty that, encapsulates the entire experience. It looks just from the stills. That looks like a game that I want to play and want to check out. I don't know too much about the actual narrative itself. Like I said, we're going around throughout parallel timelines as this woman, something to do with their grandmother. But just for the sake of, and admittedly, the developer themselves was very charismatic. He very much had this kind of, art house film director feel to
Yeah,
him.
he's got like a black turtleneck French guy
Yeah.
in like a cozy chair, and he's got that kind of vibe. I knew this was a French. This is like the most French looking game I've ever seen in my life. It just has that sort of like air to it. So
Yeah, if you saw some of those old French animated shows like Spartacus and The Sun Beneath the Sea
yeah,
and the Cities of Gold,
yeah,
just those shows done with a watercolor kind of painted aesthetic, that's kind of, and if you understand either of those references, it might be time to get a few things checked up on at the doctor.
yeah. You might need to check in and make sure your AARP membership is in good standing.
Exactly, yeah.
And
Check out your Medicare.
yeah. Oh
There
gosh.
were a couple other games that were known quantities. We did know about this game Blanc, but it
Oh,
still
yeah.
looks really cool. A very Never Alone style, a very Extinction style game where you play as a couple adorable little woodland creatures in this monochromatic black and white landscape. Looks like it's going to be a very cozy kind of physics-based puzzle platformer or 3D puzzle game. But I mean, it looks super adorable and probably going to be a tearjerker. I don't know anything about the game, but it's probably gonna be one of those games that wrecks you at the end of it. But I'm here for it.
Looks like it's gonna make you cry, and then of
Yeah.
course it's coming out on Valentine's Day because of
I
course it
noticed
is.
that. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so and it's a co-op game, so like it's going to be a sort of like, cozy co-op Valentine's Day thing where you and your significant other are going to be in tears by the end of it, so get
Yeah.
ready for that.
Yeah. Storyteller was another known quantity, and in fact, another game that you've done a video on. You played
That
the
was my
Steam
first
demo
hit
for
video.
yeah for Storyteller, and it's a game that I'm very much looking forward to because I mean, Storyteller is like my handle. It's my handle on the Nintendo Switch. If you don't see me online as All In Eric, then you probably see me under the gamer tag Storyteller or something.
Yeah.
It's a word I have literally tattooed on my arm.
Yep. There it is.
So very, very much looking forward to that when that comes out. It's really, really interesting gameplay. You basically play throughout these series of slideshows. You play through these series of storyboards, essentially, and you
Mhm.
set up the storyboards using elements that you're given. You set up the storyboards in a way that naturally tells the story that you are given to tell. So
Yeah.
it does. So I'm explaining it terribly, but it does actually look really cool.
It's hard to explain. It's yeah, so you're basically given like a story setup, and it's a puzzle game really, because
Yeah.
you're given a story setup. You'll have maybe like 3 panels say to start, and in that setup it'll be like two lovers unite or something like that, and you have to get these characters to fall in love inside of a 3-panel storyboard, and you can do that by changing things like setting, the position of the characters, the things they interact with, and stuff like that. It's a really unique little game. I played it on the channel forever ago. Gotta be a year and a half ago or something like that. So it's nice that this finally has a date. It's coming March 23rd, so I'm looking forward to it.
I am too. A couple other games real quick here as we're winding things down. Another one that I'm super excited for because I'm a massive pro wrestling nerd in addition to everything else. WrestleQuest is right up my alley.
It's
Like
so
if I
good
had
too.
if I had an actual alley, this game would walk directly up it, right up to me and slap me in the face.
Yeah, this is you're gonna love this. I
Yeah.
already know you are. This is
yeah.
another one that I've played on the channel actually.
Mhm.
During Steam Next Fest, I played the demo for this one, and it is a really unique wrestling RPG, kind of set in this like toy perspective, and it's got all these classic like wrestling characters in it. It's also just like a really good RPG with a unique art style, and I'm excited for this one. I'm not even half the wrestling fan you are. It's coming in May of next year, so it's gonna be great.
Yeah,
I could
I'm
literally
really
see
looking
that.
forward to that.
Like I could see that being one of your favorite games of next year.
That
Genuinely.
wouldn't surprise me at all. Would not surprise me at all. I'm a huge, like, pro wrestling naturally is such an over the top type of form of entertainment that it lends itself so well to arcade style or over the top video games. Retromania that came out, God, a couple years ago now. I still play that fairly regularly. They've still got apparently some more characters coming to it at some point, but I really adore Retromania, and I want more games like that. Please give me more classic style wrestling games. I don't care if you want to make it stealth action. I'll probably still enjoy it somehow, but they've decided to turn it into a really unique style turn-based RPG, and I am both here for it, then left and came back and I'm here for it again.
Yeah, as Sam in the chat points out, a lot of Paper Mario energy to WrestleQuest. It definitely has like classic Paper Mario vibes, Mario and Luigi vibes for sure.
Yeah,
it reminds me quite a bit of the Mario and Luigi games. Yeah, it's really good. Like I'm really excited for that.
And there's one more game. It didn't really. There were several other games that were much more bombastic that left a much more, a bigger exclamation mark in terms of their impact on the showcase. But there was something about this game, A Space for the Unbound, that just really, like, I just can't get it out of my mind. It does look super interesting. It looks at the same time kind of slice of life, but also sci-fi / horror mystery kind of.
Yeah.
It just looks really interesting, almost like Shin-Chan meets Detention.
Yeah, this is the game that, if you remember, this is the one that was in the center of that P-Cube controversy from a couple of months ago. And what's cool is they wound up finding a new home with our friends at Toge Productions and Chorus Worldwide to publish this one. So the game has actually been done for quite some time. It's just in this kind of center of controversy between everything happening with P-Cube. We don't need to get into that again, but there was a lot of alleged misconduct and things like that. Apparently that's been settled, and they now have a new home with, again, Toge and Chorus Worldwide, who works with a lot of Indonesian developers. And
a lot of really notable games. Coffee Talk is one of theirs. Rising Hell is one of theirs. Really great, really fantastic Indonesian indie publisher and developer that Seth and I have nothing but respect for, and we're very glad that they came in and kind of helped the studio out.
Yeah, and it's coming soon. January 19th is the new date for that game, and that's going to be a very special one indeed. I'm looking forward to checking that out. It's funny because, like, I mean, maybe this just speaks to just how much more this indie world hit for me, I guess. But I'm looking forward to that game, Goodbye World. I think looks really cool. That sort of, it
looks interesting. I don't really know what to take from it based on what we saw, because it's very nondescript. It was very vague what we saw at the Indie World Direct.
It's about, and we saw it, I believe, during either the Annapurna Game Showcase or the Summer Day of the Devs. I can't remember which one. But one of them had, do you remember one of them had like a Japanese indie dev segment at one point?
Yes.
It appeared in that. It appeared in that segment. Yeah. So these are Japanese indie devs, and the story is about these kind of like couple of people who are depressed and working on a Game Boy game. So that's this one, and it's coming later this month. I actually know the date, but I can't say it. We have been talking to the publisher, and I know when it's coming out, but they haven't officially announced it, so I shouldn't say. They've said later this month, so expect.
We're not under an NDA. We just respect the developers. And the publishers.
There's no NDA. I don't know how much of a secret it actually is, but they haven't officially said, so I'm not going to say it. But it's coming soon. It's coming very soon. So Goodbye World looks really cool. I'm also really interested in Aka, which comes out on the 15th of December. Yeah. That looks cool.
Where you play as a red panda?
You do play as a red panda. Apparently a retired red panda warrior who is relaxing on this like mystical Japanese island, has like a really cool art style to it. It has this sort of like
farming. You're going to meet Poe, and you're going to fight the Furious Five, and
it looks really cool. I love the art style. I'm very into that. We mentioned earlier, and we should say Rogue Legacy 2 Shadow dropped, which was a big deal, and huge thanks to the publisher who actually did provide us a code for that. And as Eric mentioned earlier, I did play it here on the channel. I am very bad at the game, but it's cool to have it on Switch finally. And
That's true, yeah.
and it's running really well on Switch. The game's, gorgeous to look at, looks very pretty on the OLED screen, controls perfectly. Rogue Legacy, a really unique sort, actually, I want to shout out, there's a YouTube commenter. Normal YouTube commenters can be kind of mean to me, but this YouTube commenter made, no, never. But we had a YouTube commenter that made a really good point, who said, Rogue Legacy 2 is like a modern Ghosts and Goblins game done well, like done right. And it is sort of like that. It is like a cartoony Ghosts and Goblins roguelike, with the whole gimmick being whenever you die, because you're gonna die, it's a roguelike.
Yeah.
The next character you play as is your heir.
Your descendant. You don't technically play as the same character reincarnated. Right. Every time you die, it goes to, if you play as Philip the Third, the next character you play is Philip the Fourth or whatever.
Yeah, it'll roll like random characters with random classes, and like in the little bit that I played here on the channel, I had a character who had a farting problem, a flatulence problem, and so that came into play. And I had a character who was very like had a lack of focus. So when items would drop, I had to pick them up very quickly, or they would just go away, because the character would like forget where they are. So it's kind of cool. Like they have a ton of little stuff like that, and it's got like some really unique RPG like kind of base building mechanics to it, a lot of unique classes. It's really, really good. I'm looking forward to playing more of it. So,
and specifically the Nintendo Switch version is very content rich. Like everything that they've added post launch, all the extra content and stuff that they've added to the game since its initial release is all here in the Switch version.
Yes. That does look really cool. Like I'm looking forward to playing more of it. There's just so much to play. But yeah, we did get a code for that, and we've been enjoying that so far. So thanks again to the publishers for that.
Thank you so much.
But yeah, I think that's probably like the big ones that stood out to me. That game Venba that they opened with looks cool to me. It looks like kind of a Cooking Mama sort of thing, but it's like telling the story about this this family, these, I guess they're immigrants from India that moved to Canada, and it's telling like this sort of story about like finding community and like reinvigorating your culture with food and stuff. And Indian food's my favorite. That's my favorite type, like food. I'm a huge fan of Indian food, so I'm looking at this, I'm like, dude, I would be so hungry playing this game. But it looks cool. I'm interested in that one. But
I also kind of I'll be interested to see what it winds up turning into. It's got very Breath of the Wild light vibes. This game, Oni, Quest or Road to be the Mightiest Oni.
Road to be the Mightiest Oni.
Yeah.
It actually looks beautiful. Like graphically, it looks really pretty. Kind of Sakuna vibes a little bit with the graphics.
I can kind of see that. But everything I've seen of it almost looks the exact same. So it does make me wonder how much variety there is, not just in terms of location, but in gameplay and in enemies. So, it does look good, but I just feel like every time I've seen it, which is 3 or 4 times now, it was shown off at one of the Bit Summits, and I think I saw it at another. But every time I see the game, it's the exact same footage or very, very similar footage. So
yeah, we'll see.
I don't know. I hope it's good. Well, I hope all these games are good. I want all of these games to come out and be nominated for the Golden Aces for Indie Game of the Year. I want all of them to be the best indie game of the year, but unfortunately, that's not going to happen. However, the indie game landscape has gotten to the point where there is some consistent quality coming out. You guys, there's a lot of talent out there.
Yeah.
You guys are pretty good.
Yeah, you get pretty good.
You guys are pretty good at making these indie games.
Man, I say. You guys know a thing or two. Yeah, for me, it was a really, really strong indie world. Like I said, I wanted to play most of what we saw there. There were a few games that kind of fell flat for me, but like 90% of it. Like this one, it's not quite like to that S tier, like that one indie world showcase that had like Raji and Takeshi and Hiroshi, and like that one was like stellar.
Yeah.
That's a high bar to reach, but it's probably, for me personally, just under that one. I thought it was really strong.
Yeah.
So
There were a lot of. I was super super stoked to finally see Sports Story again, and having that
yeah,
come out here in the very near future makes Eric very happy. I was very very excited to finally get confirmation of Inscription, and not just confirmation, to find out that that's coming out in just a few weeks. And then a lot of games that we have are known quantities. The fact that there were 3 shadow drops, I thought was awesome, including a couple very notable shadow drops. It's always nice because I'm not I'm not trying to say that there needs to be shadow drops from every show, or that we are entitled to have a couple
right.
titles to play after every show. But coming off of the hype of a show like that, it's just a really smart business decision if you decide, if your game's ready, just to go ahead and drop it in conjunction with a massive show like that, because that's going to be one of the best ways to get your game in front of people, is to have it in a big presentation like this, and then to tell people, oh, by the way, you can play it now. And thankfully, 3 very notable games did just that. Again, one of which we will be talking about much more
Yeah.
in a few minutes. But yeah, super good show. Glad that they got back on track from the fairly underwhelming indie world that we got earlier on in the year. Nintendo is very good at making these types of presentations. So I hope it continues. Hope it
Yeah.
continues.
Yeah,
Probably going to be the last
yeah, I was
major
just gonna
one for
say the
the
same
yeah.
thing. Yeah, probably the last major showcase of the year. We typically expect a mainline direct in February, so that'll probably be the last one we get from Nintendo this year as we sort of get properly into the holiday season. But we did get a Q2 2023 financial briefing from Nintendo, which I won't spend a ton of time on this, but there are a few really cool little nuggets from this.
Seth is such an I'm not saying this is a bad thing, but Seth is such a nerd for these financial briefings. And there is a lot of really interesting stuff that you can take away from the numbers that Nintendo gives. And some very notable milestones have
Yeah.
been hit by some very notable games that are definitely worth noting.
Yeah, I think so.
Notes.
So yeah, notes. The big one that a lot of people kind of look for when we get to these quarterly financial briefings is, where's the Nintendo Switch sitting at in terms of its
Yeah.
hardware sales? How is it ranking against? How does it stack up against the other ones? Especially as we're going into the holiday, the current hardware sales for the
All
Nintendo
of
Switch
them.
is now at 114 million. Which is just below the Game Boy family of systems. Now it's knocking on their door. They're sitting at 118 million. So we're right there. The next time we get these, especially after the holiday, we're either going to be right under or we're going to overtake Game Boy, and then next will be DS for the best selling.
I think we're going to be right under, just
Me too.
because we kind of talked about this last week. I think if Nintendo's Black Friday and holiday deals were stronger,
Right.
I think they could overtake the Game Boy family of systems
Me
by
too.
the next quarter. But again, as we said last week, we thought the holiday deals were frankly kind of weak from Nintendo. So I don't expect it to overtake it in the next quarter. But by spring, yeah, probably.
Yeah. That's kind of what I'm thinking too. We'll see. I mean, they have some big. I mean, Pokemon's going to sell systems, and
Yeah.
yeah, we'll see. We'll see how it all shakes out. But I'm sort of with you. I think the holiday offerings are just kind of weak in terms of actual hardware. So we'll see how it all shakes out. A couple of big like software related stories. So Splatoon 3, and I just want to bear in mind here, folks, this quarter ended on the end of September 30th. So Splatoon 3 in just 21 days sold almost 8 million units. So it's Splatoon 3 doing pretty well, I would say.
3 weeks, 8 million
Yeah.
units. I want to put this out there. There are first party Nintendo franchises that haven't seen lifetime sales of 8 million. There are some notable Nintendo first party franchises that have not seen lifetime sales of 8 million. The fact that this game did 8 million in less than a month is stupid.
Yeah. Huge game, and it's only going to continue, especially as we get into the holidays. I feel like
They must have listened to our review.
Yeah, I guess so. I feel like people are kind of, I mean, the hardcore fan base is always going to be there.
Yep.
But I do think it's time to start getting some updates with Splatoon. Obviously, there's a Splatfest going on right now. So a lot of people are excited about that. The Splatfests are always exciting, but I'm ready. Like, give me that big run update. Like, I need something. Like, I need a little bit more of a carrot on a stick, because
Yeah.
I feel like I'm just logging in to do Splatfest at this point, personally. But
I know they did give us the roadmap when the game launched. They gave us the roadmap of the updates to the catalog that we're going
yeah,
to get every couple of months for at least the next 2 years. Obviously, we're going to get the Splatfests. I did think they were going to be slightly more frequent. The fact
me
we
too.
didn't get anything in October, a month that is tailor made for Splatfest,
Yeah.
especially considering that Splattober was kind of a thing
Yeah.
for a long time. So the fact we didn't get any Splatfest for October led both Seth and I to think that we were going to get this first big run update, that first event. And my thoughts are something happened with it. They fully intended to do it this October, but there was something wrong in the coding, something wrong. They weren't able to implement it the way they wanted to. And they wound up, instead of just having a broken version of the event out there that would have soured people on the game very fast,
Mm-hmm.
rather than just have the game come out and do something like that, they just opted to push it back to whenever. So that's kind of my thoughts on what potentially could have happened with that.
Yeah, and they also dedicated a lot of development resources to like fixing netcode and stuff like that, which I
Yep.
think they probably weren't really expecting. So that's been that's been at the front of their development as well for that. So I think that's got something to do with it. It probably pushed things back kind of a little bit. Um, Another kind of big one, shout outs to Locklith here in the chat. Locklith and I on the Nintendo Drive this past week did a Kirby blowout because Kirby and the Forgotten Land has officially become the best-selling game in the Kirby franchise at now over 5 million units sold, 5.27 to be exact. I think Kirby's Dream Land was 5.13 or something like that. So it is now the best-selling game in the Kirby franchise. Well deserved. Kirby fans unite. Shout outs to Kirby and the Forgotten Land. One of the best games of the year still, for my money.
The fact that the original Game Boy Kirby's Dream Land was, up until this quarterly briefing, was the best-selling Kirby game of all time to this day, that kind of blew my mind. But Kirby and the Forgotten Land, Kirby's first true foray into 3D adventure, was just absolutely fantastic. We did a review of that way back in April, I believe, or the end of March, and it was, man, Kirby games are pretty uniformly good, but this one was spectacular. It really was. If you haven't checked it out, I definitely recommend it. Fully deserved. Still can't believe that just over 5 million is the bar to set for best selling in the franchise. What was I just talking about? How there are some first party Nintendo franchises that haven't seen lifetime sales of 8 million. It took almost the full calendar year for Kirby to hit over 5 million. Splatoon hit 8 in less than a month. That's ugh.
I mean, it's
how do numbers even work anymore, Seth? I don't know how to math anymore.
Yeah, well, I mean, look, you look at franchises like Metroid and F-Zero, and you know that certain franchises are more niche, and I think Kirby is kind of there on the fringe, and it's nice to see a game as good as Kirby and the Forgotten Land kind of have the sales to back it up. So I'm very happy to see it do this well. And the last sort of thing I'll highlight here, and there are a couple other things from this, but the last one that I'll stop and highlight is that now Animal Crossing New Horizons, as of this quarter, has officially overtaken the first Pokemon generation as the best-selling game of all time in Japan.
In Japan, yep.
So congrats to Animal Crossing, man. And we knew the game was a juggernaut. It's the second best-selling game on the Nintendo Switch. I believe it also just crossed 40 million units sold. So it's a massive success. One of the most perfectly timed releases in video game history.
A story we've told a few times, but I mean, you know why it sold that much, right, Seth?
Why is that?
They saw Lockless videos.
That's true. They saw Lockless videos. That was what it was. Yeah, and Locklith in the chat here, she's playing Animal Crossing right now. So there you go.
I think she just started a new island. You should definitely check it out.
Yeah, she did.
We are absolutely, next time we move into a new all-in HQ, she's absolutely our interior decorator.
There you go. I'll take her up on that. So, but those are some of the stories from the Nintendo Q2 2023 financial briefing. Some cool things to highlight there. There's another little story. There's not a whole lot to glean from this, but I did just want to pass this along as it's interesting. Nintendo has established a joint venture company with DNA, so that is the company behind Pokemon Go, for example, and this is called Nintendo Systems. The implications of this are kind of unknown. We don't really know what it means, but they say that their goal is to, quote, strengthen the digitalization of Nintendo's business, and it will, quote, research and develop as well as create value-added services to further reinforce Nintendo's relationship with consumers, end quote. That statement means nothing. So we don't really know what this is, but it is a thing. Nintendo Systems in collaboration with DNA. Buzzwords. That's just it's just flowery PR text that means absolutely nothing. So, but who knows? It is kind of, it makes perfect sense that Nintendo is going to continue to strengthen a relationship with DNA. It has been a very, very lucrative one. So no surprise there.
Our intent with this collaboration is to use state-of-the-art technology to really push forward into the future in a way that we find both beneficial and entertaining for all involved. We have all of our customer base in mind, and we are very excited for this new joint venture, which will be producing a lot of very state-of-the-art things moving toward the future.
Just like skipping the margins, writing on the front and the back of the page, it's those kind of vibes. There's not a whole lot to say about this one, but it is worth noting. Maybe something to keep an eye on.
When you had to write a 1,500 word report and you only had like 3 sentences worth of actual stuff to say.
Yeah, when you're filling out your resume with like these little dumb side jobs that you did for a week. That's basically what this is. But hey, Nintendo Systems, something to kind of keep an eye on. We'll definitely report back to y'all if and when something comes of this. But we got a lot of Pokemon news.
It's been a big week for Pokemon. It's been a big week. Can we get a standing ovation for Ash Ketchum?
You finally did it.
Actually, not Ash Ketchum. Standing ovation for Satoshi.
Yeah, Satoshi. It was technically, that episode is not aired in America yet. It was the Japanese episode. It just happened this past week. After 25 years, Satoshi has finally become the world champion in the Pokemon anime, something that this character has been striving to achieve since the beginning, since the 90s, literally. And I gotta say, I watched the scene where he was fighting Leon.
It was awesome.
It was hype.
That was an amazing fight. And the callbacks.
Yes.
There was a couple specific callbacks that genuinely almost brought a tear to my eye.
Yeah. Really well done. Like extraordinarily well done.
Yeah. They knew how important that moment was for the history of not just the show, but the IP. Because the show, the anime, has been a massive part of, like, it's not just been the games and there's, the show has just been this little companion piece to the franchise the entire time. The show has been a focal point and a big reason for the franchise's enduring popularity. Ash and Pikachu, that's one of the reasons that Pikachu is the most recognizable video game character, or one of the most recognizable video game characters on the planet. That's the reason we got Pokemon Yellow. Mm-hmm. That show is iconic. It's broken Guinness World Records, and 25 years, an actual quarter century after the show started, Ash has finally made good on the promise set forth in the original opening theme to be the best, like no one ever was.
Finally,
and it was such a great moment. I watched it several times. Congratulations, Satoshi. Can't wait to see the English dub. But yeah, that was so great. And I was glad to see it handled with the reverence and care that it needed to.
Yeah, really cool. So big congrats. But that was only really the tip of the iceberg. We got actually a couple, just since we've last chatted with y'all, couple of new Pokemon Scarlet and Violet trailers. One of them was kind of I don't know if they're considering it the final. It honestly, maybe it's not the final trailer. Maybe we'll get another one next week for all I know. Even though the game at this point is coming out next week, I wouldn't be shocked if we got another trailer. Why not?
Comes out in less than a week. Why not? Give us more content to consume.
Yeah, sure.
Why not?
Why not? So we got this trailer that was kind of an overview trailer set to Ed Sheeran's Celestial song, which is like, all right, cool. And there wasn't a whole lot of new information, although there was a tease in there of these two Pokemon, Great Tusk and Iron Treads, which
I can't imagine is the actual name of them. They're just trying to be, I guess, a little mysterious because the legendary Pokemon Miraidon and
Koraidon. Koraidon, yeah,
Koraidon and Miraidon. Well, like they're so front and center with everything going on in the game that they need to have some, some legendary, some mystery, some really interesting, unique, ubiquitous Pokemon to go after. And I don't know if these are going to be them, but they are trying to at least add a little bit of hype and mystery to the background of Scarlet and Violet. So cool. They look like steel. One of them looks like an ice ground. One of them looks like maybe a steel dragon. Yeah. I don't know.
Well, here's my theory about it. Lockleth in the chat says it should have been Post Malone's Pokemon song instead. Yeah, I could have been Hootie and the Blowfish. I would have been better.
That was so weird.
So that would have been kind of funny. But my theory on this is, something that we talked about a lot when the game was first revealed, and something I think a lot of people have sort of lost sight on as we've gotten closer to the game's release, is this past and future theming that the game has. The game clearly has. And Great Tusk and Iron Treads, I think, plays into that. Because you see Iron Treads kind of looks like a digitized, like, kind of reminds me of Miraidon a little bit in that way. And then Great Tusk is very clearly this kind of ancient looking Pokemon. So I almost wonder, and I don't think those are the names either, but I almost wonder if this is like kind of these new legendaries that are playing into that past and future theming. And I wonder if this implies that there are going to be multiple past and future themed legendaries in the game. It might even be the version exclusives, like Scarlet gets Great Tusk and Violet gets Iron Treads.
Oh, so, I absolutely imagine that's going to happen. Yeah. When you do something like this, when you do two Pokemon who are so clearly mirrors of each other, then typically that's what it is they are version exclusive, especially when you're talking about Pokemon that they are trying to make as notable. They're trying to present as notable as these two are. That was kind of obvious to me that these were going to be version exclusives, that you wouldn't be able to get both of them in either one game. But I don't know. There's so many legendaries out there that it is kind of hard to really drum up hype, I feel like, when it comes to new legendaries, new mythicals. So I don't know. I think Pokemon needs to do something stronger than this. We are here talking about it because it's a new Pokemon game. But if I'm being completely honest, I was a little bit more than meh about it. I wasn't like, oh my God, I can't wait to add those two to my team.
No, yeah,
it was just new Pokemon. To be completely honest, I was actually more interested in the other Pokemon that they released this week because so Pokemon now has a Mimic.
Pokemon has a Mimic. That's what makes me happy about this. So y'all know,
me too.
I was a little bit soft on Greavard, the first ghost type from this generation. That I thought it was a very cute Pokemon, but didn't really feel like a ghost type to me. Gimmighoul does. And again, like Greavard's cute, Gimmighoul's not cute. He's just a weird little goblin guy he's Pokemon's Mimic. I mean, like, that's what I love about this, is that Pokemon is a now, almost 30 years old JRPG franchise. And it only is just now finally getting a Mimic. And that's a classic JRPG trope. And now, it finally has one in the form of Gimmighoul. I love him. I just think he's like this weird little guy. And and to me, a stronger ghost type representative than Greavard. Again, like Greavard, I'm looking for, if you're right, if he does have an evolution, I'm looking forward to seeing it. But Gimmighoul, to me, this is more in line with what I was looking for.
Now, I love this more traditional representation of the Mimic. For those out there who don't know, a Mimic in JRPGs has always been a monster that lures in prey by pretending to be a treasure chest or by
Mm-hmm.
pretending to be a piece of treasure. And in all fairness, Pokemon has always had that in the form of Voltorb and Electrode. Because especially going
True.
back to the first game, you would like all the items would show up on the ground on the world map as Pokeballs. And then
Right.
occasionally in a couple areas, it turns out they weren't items, they were indeed Pokemon. So Pokemon has always kind of technically had its own version of the Mimic, but I am
True.
really excited to see this more traditional interpretation of this kind of legendary cliche, granted, but it's still really nice to see this classic JRPG trope done in, the Pokemon style.
Yeah. The Pokedex entry is lame.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, he possesses you and makes you collect coins. It's like, well, that's dumb. What does that mean? But like, that's like, whatever. That's stupid. Locklith in the chat says, but Grievard is a good boy. Grievard is a good boy. I'm not taking anything away from Grievard. Good boy.
Is he a good boy? Because he siphoned your. I think there was an actual murder in Grievard's trailer. Does that make him a good boy?
Yeah, maybe a bad boy. I don't know, but yes, Gimme Ghoul. I'm excited about Gimme Ghoul. Is it going to be on my team? I don't know. We'll see. There's going to be so many new Pokemon, and also just as a PSA to everybody out there, the game is all over the internet with leaks. So be careful out there. If you want to stay unspoiled, maybe mute some words on Twitter.
We are not going to be talking about the leaks. We're not going to be talking about any
No.
of the content. I am specifically trying to do everything in my power to avoid them.
Same.
The game comes out next week. I mean, we're gonna see everything here soon anyway.
Yeah, just wait.
I don't even see the point of leaks. This
No.
close to the game's coming out.
Just wait.
So-
It's going to come out in, at this point, less than a week. Just chill. You're about to play the game. You're going to see
Yeah.
it for yourself. Just relax. Have just a little bit of restraint maybe, and have maybe just a modicum of genuine surprise when the game comes out. How about that? So, but just a PSA, if you want to remain unspoiled, if you want to go and seek out the leaks, they're out there. That's your prerogative. Have fun. Whatever, I don't care. But if you want to remain unspoiled, just take your due diligence. PSA.
Yeah. Stay off the internet.
Just go media blackout until Pokemon.
By the time we get around to next Wednesday or next Thursday, that might be what it takes. But yeah, I'm so happy. But if they finally added another Pokemon into the franchise that clearly needs to have Payday in its moveset.
That's true. Yeah, that's true. Payday probably does need to be in its moveset.
But yeah, big week for Pokemon. It was very interesting that they decided to release the episode of Ash becoming world champion the week before a brand new generation of Pokemon games is released. I wonder how much of that was actually planned, because if it was, that is top tier marketing right there.
Dude, Pokemon is a well-oiled machine. I'm sure it was 1000% planned. And now the question is, what is Ash going to do in the Paldea region? Or is it going to be Ash anymore at all? I mean, that's the questions now that need to be answered by the Pokemon anime. They've put themselves in an interesting, tantalizing position. And yeah, it's brilliant marketing. Pokemon is where it is because of brilliant marketing. You know?
Now Ash gets to be a 10-year-old veteran, a 10-year-old mentor, a 10-year-old wizened master.
That's right. So we'll see. But Pokemon comes out next week, Eric, and we're certainly looking forward to it. But there was a lot of games that came out this week. So
many games.
How about we hit these notable
many
releases?
Sounds good. Let's hit these notable releases very quickly. We've already talked about the 3 shadow drops from this past week's Indie World Direct. We've got Rogue Legacy 2. We've got Once Upon a Jester, which again, we will be talking about in much more detail here in just a few minutes. And the other one was...
A Little to the Left.
A Little to the Left. That is right. So if you want to check out A Little to the Left, there's no demo. But again, Seth did play the demo for Steam. So if you want to check that out on our YouTube channel, you can before you pick up the game. If you want to check out his video on Rogue Legacy, that's also up before you pick up the game. And if you want to give it just a couple seconds, if you're listening to the podcast, we will be talking about the other shadow drop momentarily. So regardless of the shadow drop you're interested in, we got you covered this week.
That's right. That's right. We talked a bit about Sonic Frontiers earlier, so we have that review coming in short order on the show. So look forward to that. We have talked about Atari 50 a lot leading up to the
Oh,
release this week, and I'm excited to finally crack into
Steven,
that. Yeah, we had
Steven.
Stephen Frost on the show talking about that and the Cowabunga collection. Just another, by all accounts, another masterful job from Digital Eclipse. It's from all accounts sounds like the new gold standard for retro
Yeah,
collections.
yeah.
So yeah,
Very, very apt box art with the black and gold motif
that's
there.
right. That's right. So I'm looking forward to digging into that.
Oh, me
Tactics
too.
Ogre Reborn came out
Yes.
this week. The sort of remake.
Tactics fans unite.
Yeah, yeah, the remake of that original Tactics Ogre game, and I know a lot of people are excited for this one. I'm probably gonna pass on it. I don't have time for it. You know, it's as simple as that. But I know people are very excited for this one.
Yeah. This one kind of flew under the radar for a lot of people, but a very notable release nonetheless. We finally got Sifu
Yeah,
on the Nintendo Switch. That really interesting beat 'em up game where you actually get older as you continue to fail more and more. I would be an old man so quickly in that game.
yeah, me too. It's from I believe that's from Slow Clap, the developers of Absolver, which actually my cousin's a massive fan of this developer, and Sifu looks really good, and apparently the Switch port is pretty solid from what I've heard. So I'd be interested in checking it out. Again,
I would.
so much to play. We mentioned Lunistis earlier. Lunistis, a really cool low poly 3D platformer, demo available. Full game's only $5, and very very worth your time to check out. But Eric, I know there's a release this week that you're very excited about.
I'm really torn. I really am because I'm so glad it's out, but I'm waiting for the physical and I have no clue when that's coming.
Yeah,
We're talking about the release of the Neo Geo Pocket Color Selection Volume 2 from SNK. I'm a massive SNK fanboy because they do a ton of fighting games. Fatal Fury, King of Fighters, Art of Fighting, and several other Samurai Showdown. But I adore the Neo Geo Pocket Color Selection Volume 1, and I'm so glad that these old games, that one of the biggest reasons that I'm excited for it is the preservation of these old games. There's a lot of quality titles here that have never really had a shot, and had a really big we're in danger of basically just being lost to time. But here we are, thankfully, in 2022, and much of the console's library, I think of which there were ultimately only 80 some odd games in the entire history of the Neo Geo Pocket Color, but we've already got a couple dozen available now on the Nintendo Switch, both as individual purchases and through these collections as well. So I'm very glad that SNK is finding a way to preserve all of their amazing games from the Neo Geo and the Neo Geo Pocket Color on the Nintendo Switch. I can't wait for the physical to come out. I don't want to double dip. I really don't, but there's some titles on there I really want to sink my teeth into. So
stay strong. Stay strong, Eric.
Super excited that it's out. It's $40 for 10 classic games, including a card battler game, a Capcom versus SNK card battler game, which was initially released as two separate titles, where you could collect different cards depending on the company, depending on which version you got. But
Yeah.
for this collection and for the individual purchased version on the Nintendo Switch, they released it as a single cohesive game. So you can just play it as one version. You can collect all the cards in just this one version of the game rather than play two separate titles.
Nice. Yeah. There's too many. There's too many games, dude. There's too many
Way
games.
too many games. There's way too many games. But the second that physical becomes available, I'm all over that. Yes, please, I'll take 10. Is that really it?
Yeah, that's what we got. Is that really it? There's like 10 releases here. Is that all?
There is actually, God, there's so much. And we've been playing Bayonetta, Mario plus Rabbids Sparks of Hope, Sonic Frontiers, all of this other stuff that we've been playing. What about you guys? What are you guys playing? Let us know. Reach out to us on Facebook and Twitter at All In Podcast. Reach out to us. Join the conversation over on Discord. We would love to have you. If you're not a member of our Discord community, why not? You don't have a good answer, I know, so quit trying to make up excuses. Join our Discord server. We would love to have you over there. We have a genuinely amazing community. So many genuinely awesome people as part of a community. That is something we are very proud of, is the community we have cultivated here over at All In. If you want a nice, positive, inclusive, inspiring Discord community to be a part of, there are a few better than the All In Discord. That's a guarantee straight from All In Eric. Join the Discord. And you should also follow us on YouTube, because turns out we put a lot of content out on YouTube. Like I said, Seth put out videos for Storyteller, put out videos for Rogue Legacy, put out videos for a lot of the games that we've played recently. But in addition to that, we also do these little news broadcasts every Friday night at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific, and you should definitely check those out. If you are doing that right now, A, thank you very much, and B, you should continue to do that. But for whatever reason you're unable to, you can't do it, if you think you have better things to do on a Friday night, A, you don't. But if you think you do, then whatever. We still have All In a Nintendo Podcast, the podcast, which you can like, follow, and subscribe to wherever you get all of your podcasts from. We have completely taken over the podcast landscape. Whatever podcast service you listen to podcasts on, we are there, just slowly, like a virus, just slowly taking over every podcast service on the internet. But, viruses need to eat. Viruses need sustenance. And the way that we are able to continue to virally spread our message across the internet is because of viewers like you, PBS. But no, genuinely, our patrons are some of the most legendary people on the internet, and you should really consider becoming one.
Yes, you should continue to let this virus grow over on
Exactly.
patreon.com/allinpodcast. We've got 3 tiers of support over there. Head on over there and see what works for you. Things like shout outs, 2 exclusive weekly podcasts that we produce over there, and so much more. Voting rights on content, early access to things like Keep Nintendo Weird. There will be a new episode of that going live next week, so be on the lookout for that. Patrons will get early access to that. Shout outs here on the shows, and so much more. Our patrons are absolutely amazing. We thank you all so much for your continued love and support. But Eric, if you don't have any ways to feed the virus there is a free way that you can feed this virus. Did you know that?
I have nothing clever to say for this. How can they support us for free?
Yeah, it is. There are only so many places you could take this virus metaphor.
Yeah.
You can drop some words over on Podchaser, on Apple Podcasts, and on Audible. You can leave us 5-star written reviews that will be shouted out here on the show. If you leave them, we super duper appreciate those. And then on Spotify, you can leave 5-star ratings. And while you can't leave words there, we appreciate those too.
Yes, we very much appreciate the 2 that did it this past week. Thank you.
Thank you again. We deeply appreciate that. It is just a super easy and free way to support this show and help us get in front of people who need to see it. And thank you so much for doing that.
Yeah. However you guys choose to support us, if you just hang out with us every week, if you drop some words, if you rate us, if you're patrons, however you help spread the virus. Thank you. The virus that is All In. We're a good virus. We're a virus that you want to catch. We're something that you want to be infected with. We are a good type. We are the most wonderful disease you will ever catch in your entire life. We promise.
Just to put that on a shirt, man.
We are going to be doing merch soon, hopefully. So we will definitely check it out. And if you buy that merch, awesome. Just another way to help support the show. However you choose to support Seth and I here at All In, thank you. Genuinely thank you from the bottom of our hearts. Namaste.
Namaste. That's the news, folks. Man.
Just casually go in an hour and a half.
Yeah, it was a big week, man. We knew it was going to be a long one.
Yeah.
It was a big week. I appreciate everybody who came out Shout outs to Locklith and Sam in the chat. Thank you all for coming out and hanging out for a little bit as we talked about Nintendo news for an hour and a half. We had the Indie World, we had the financials, we had all the Pokemon news. So yeah, it was a big week. So we'll see. Yeah, Locklith says the virus merch is gold. So we'll see. We are planning to launch some merch by the end of the year, so be on the lookout for that. It's one of my big goals for this year is to launch merch. We've crushed, honestly, all of the other goals that I kind of came into 2022 wanting for All In. We've done those. Merch is the kind of last pillar that we need.
That in a website.
Yeah, I want to. The website's become like less of a priority for me because like.
Who has a website anymore?
It's one of those things where like we were just talking about this on SideQuest, but like websites just don't really matter that much anymore. So it's become less of a priority. Merch is a priority.
Yeah.
So,
but if we're gonna do merch, we're gonna need a website. We're gonna need a proper online storefront.
Yeah, we'll have a storefront for sure. I'm probably gonna wind up going with the one that the same storefront Carpool uses, because it seems to be kind of the best option for it. Lachlan says D or I sue. Well, don't sue. Here's a D right here. Here's a good
nice.
Don't sue.
I just love how he immediately had a DDD within arm's reach within literally 3 seconds.
I mean, I'm surrounded by DDDs. I have DDD's little DDD shrine on my desk. So, are you looking for a DDD?
I've got that DDD amiibo somewhere.
There are 2 DDD amiibo. I have both of them, of course. This is actually a spare for the desk shrine. I need to get a second spare. This is the Smash Brothers series DDD.
Actually, speaking of, there was something we forgot to mention.
Yeah, the Splatoon amiibo came out.
The Splatoon amiibos are out, yeah.
Yeah, I forgot to mention that. It's fine. It'll be all right. I do need to pick those up still.
Small fry!
Yeah, my GameStop didn't get them today. So I'm waiting on my GameStop to get them.
Lame.
Yeah. It's like a similar situation to Monster Hunter. Like the shipments are all messed up. So, but anywho, thanks for tuning in, guys. We appreciate it. We hope everybody has a great weekend. Enjoy some video games for us this weekend. We're going to get back to playing Sonic Frontiers. That's next on the docket. And,
true story. And we have an awesome episode for you guys dropping tomorrow. In addition to all the loveliness that you just heard over the past hour and a half, we've got an amazing indie showcase on one of the games that shadow dropped from this week's Indie World Direct, Once Upon a Jester, from developer and musical group Bonte Avant.
Mm-hmm.
In addition to that, we've got a really cool top 5 celebrating the elections in the U.S. from this past week. We've got some really cool stories and instances to talk to you guys about in the top 5.
I think it's one of the most unique top 5s we've ever done. And,
yeah, it's going to be a really good one.
Yeah, it's a good
one. And then, of course, Bayonetta 3, the final say on the internet, the definitive review of Bayonetta 3 on the internet. We will be dropping tomorrow for your ear delight.
Big episode dropping tomorrow. So we will see you then, guys. We love you all very much. Before you leave, like the stream, if you would. Like and subscribe here on YouTube. We really appreciate it. And again, stuff happening all the time over here. But,
all the time.
Yeah, we'll see you on the podcast tomorrow. We'll see you back here next week. And yeah, have a great weekend, guys. Bye.
Have a good one. Bye. I'm going to go see Black Panther.